about yourself since we're just meeting now for the first time?
Yeah, we've known of each other for all about 24 hours.
When I speak to people like yourself who have really gone the gamut and played at the collegiate level or even beyond, they look at sports completely differently than I personally ever would. And having that insight and that perspective is so awesome. So if you could speak to that and just what it's been like for you.
Yeah, and being so close to the fire, I'm not even sure that like I recognized how much of, sports is woven into the fabric of our daily lives. But, you look at people just like itching to watch a sporting event, or they'll watch like, ping pong or like these cornhole tournaments and like, have their popcorn and like be glued to the TV. It is kind of crazy. And I feel like, right now, no one really knows what's going to happen in the next couple months. But, I would say working in the NFL, we haven't been hit as much as some of these other sports that have, right in the middle of their season. But yeah, it's really interesting. I mean, in terms of entertainment, sports doesn't have a script. So I often say that like some of the best stories that ever come out are sports, because you don't know what's going to happen. Yeah, that's always an interesting question, because I guess I'm curious. So I'll ask like some colleagues or some people that I know, I'll be like, hey, like if you could do it over again, would you go there again? And some people that picked a small school, they'll be like, oh man, I wish I went to a big school down south, and just
Yeah,
really,
with good
really maxed
weather.
out my years. But for me, I wanted something a little bit bigger. Like Towson and Stony Brook were both around like 20,000 students. Um, I mean, I like those. I love Towson, but you know, everything happens the way it's supposed to, right? So
Yeah. Yeah, well, to your point, going to a small school made me realize how much I thrive on being around people, and how much, if I were to choose a different school, it might be like ASU, like warm weather,
yeah,
bigger campus, most beautiful people, allegedly. So, just surrounding yourself with things that really energize you. And that, but I think that unless you trial and error throughout your life, you'll never really have that self reflection.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I agree with that 100%. I'm really big on physical clutter equals mental clutter, and like everything's connected. So it all plays a
If
role.
I
It's kind
look
of
around my
crazy.
apartment now and everything's nice and clean and put away, then I have that clarity within my mind as well. Versus if there's just stuff everywhere and I'm like, oh my God, I can't think about anything because that is a mess, And it's a
Yeah,
recurring thought throughout the day, unless
yeah.
you take care of it.
8 hours of sitting, basically, if you do a 1 hour workout, like, and 8 hours of sitting, you're basically like, you broke even. So that,
Just random body aches that I wouldn't have had before because I always am really active going for walks constantly and commuting into the city. Like you're just utilizing your muscles. And unless you make a point to be very intentional throughout the day to break free from the computer screen and, do some type of physical activity, your body's just going to start deteriorating.
like, if you ask people around my office, like I'm very big on like, okay, like make sure you're getting up every hour, like, every 20 minutes, look away from your screen, that type of stuff. And it's definitely been an adjustment working from home. But I've actually like, I'm a little bit crazy with this, but I need structure. Like as a college athlete, every like 15 minutes that we had throughout the day, from the time we woke up to the time we went to bed, was basically, okay, you're either in a lift, class, practice, film. One of my clients is pretty into fitness, and he posted something on social media. It's a 60-day challenge that started on Monday. So I kind of modified it and wrote up my own. So I'm on day 3 of that right now. But it's basically running a mile a day for the first month, 2 miles for the second month, gallon of water a day, make sure you work out twice a day. One of them has to be outside, like all that kind of stuff. So I went a little crazy with it. I wrote, like 12 things down, but I'm gonna turn that back to like 5 and really just focus on that for the next, 60 days. So I could really just have something like in a North Star to kind of keep myself, in line and on that path when, you know, we don't really have structure right now in terms of our, working from home lives. Going to be interesting too, like the habits people have coming out of this. And just like I was listening to, I think it was a podcast or like a little YouTube thing. It's just so interesting that like all the different industries, and they're like, talking about real estate, and is there going to be like a little bit of a crash? And it was Ryan Serhant who was talking. He basically said, like, I'm looking at it the other way. Like I have these people that are like pent up in their New York City apartment and they're tired of it and it's small and they don't like it and like they can't wait to like move into something bigger.
This is inviting that opportunity for people to maybe move to the boonies or live in their house in the Poconos or whatever it is, because they felt like they couldn't get their job done unless they lived near Manhattan and we were all living on top of each other. But this is just showing us that we can do our job from anywhere. Some people know people personally that are affected by this, and other people only see what's on the news, and that's enough of a stressor for them. So not everyone's able to talk about business right now, but what can we do to focus on our relationships and be proactive during this time?
Yeah, and no, I like what you said there. I think it's like with me with my clients, like I didn't even want to talk about the year, talk about which game they wanted or stuff like that. Like it was cool just to kind of be like, hey, like how's everything going? Because they know just as much as I know at this point.
We're all trying to figure out what a professional relationship with our customers looks like in good times and in bad times, and making sure that people see us as human beings and not just, salespeople, as you said.
Yeah, and that like plays into like the LinkedIn thing. Like how much can you actually do right now? Like reaching out to people. Like I'm not pushing a product right now. Like it's not the right thing to do, and it's not something I would even want to do right now. But making connections on LinkedIn, like whether it's people like Towson University alums in the area that I reached out to that I didn't even know, were working in sports, or, us kind of, connecting yesterday through my posts. It's just cool that like LinkedIn's this platform that I feel like has been underutilized for so long, is the most valuable commodity, even more than money. So they're spending, 6 hours, driving to the game, tailgating, enjoying the game and going home, with the New York Jets. So like, after the game or after the year, I'll like thank those people, be like, thank you for coming out, like, and supporting the team and for choosing us. Cause there's like 10 other, professional sports teams in the area. There's Broadway, there's all these different entertainment options. It's crazy in New York. But for them to spend their hard-earned dollars and their time with the Jets, like that's pretty awesome. In terms of like careers and your life, like, there's a lot of perception on what you should do, what things should look like, college, date somebody, marry, stuff like that, or a career path. Like I've made like a lateral move before in my career. Like I guess what I'm trying to say is don't be afraid to bet on yourself, take risks, really take control of, your career and your life. There's so much information out there now. It's kind of almost too much, but I think what I was saying before is that like 60-day challenge that I'm doing, like set yourself up for success. Like if it takes something like that, but even me like kind of calibrating it, like I realized after a couple of days, like I am in way too many different directions with this thing. Like let's nail down 5 things, have that be the focus, and then like go after it. So I would say for me, just create a goal. Like what do you want out of life? What do you want out of a career? What do you want out of relationships? Reverse engineer it. Like, okay, what are the steps to get there? And then like do it. Like that's the last part. Like put those actionable steps into place and go after it. And it's going to be really fulfilling and rewarding because it's something that you genuinely want. And the other thing is that I've been getting into more is be more process oriented instead of results oriented, because once you fall in love with the process and the day in and the day out of it, you're not emotionally attached to those results. So say, you work 2 years towards a goal, it didn't happen. Now, where does that mindset leave you? You didn't accomplish your goal. That was the only thing you cared about, and you're not there. Whether, and then I could look at it like, okay, I'm working 2 years towards a goal. I'm going to have fun with it. I'm enjoying it. This is all intrinsic motivation type stuff. I'll do the best I can every day. And, in 2 years, if I'm there, then great. If I'm not, I'm great because I've grown along the way. So I just say, I guess that's like 3 or 4 things, but that's just kind of, a good way to look at things.